Hello, kids. Welcome in. It's just after 12 o'clock. May I be the first to say a good afternoon. It is 12:06 to be precise. My name is Matt Murphy, and this is the Matt Murphy Radio Show, underway for another day and another week. Hope you had a great weekend. Hope you had a wonderful time spending time with family and friends. For you weekend warriors, we appreciate you. Some of you working all weekend. Others having a couple of days off, and that's good stuff. It's Monday, February the 5th, 2024. Let's get the pleasantries out of the way, and we'll get this show lumbering under its own weight. It's episode 505 of the proceedings here today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We'll be in until 3 o'clock this afternoon or until they throw us off the radio, whichever comes first. One way or the other, about 3 o'clock, Brian Wilson comes along with The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple of guests to tell you about in the 1 o'clock hour, 1:35 to be precise. Congressman Andy Ogles will speak on the immigration bill, quote-unquote, as it exists. I'll have a lot to say about that in just a couple of minutes. And at 12:35 this afternoon, Robbie Starbuck, local advocate and activist, will be along to tell us, about a great film that he has launched on the X machine, and also to give us an idea of what he will be talking about tomorrow afternoon, or I guess it's morning. It's about 11 o'clock in the morning, as he and several others are making their way to Capitol Hill. In the aftermath of the State of the State address by the governor tonight, they will be advocating for school choice in the state of Tennessee. We will talk with Robbie about that at 12:35. We'd love to talk to you at any point during the proceedings. Obviously, it's an open forum. Super Talk 99.7 WTN's phone lines are open at 615-737-9986. We take all comers, and disagreement goes to the front of the line. 615-737-9986. I give those numbers often and as quickly as possible just to keep you on your toes. That is also the super text line. You may text us at any point in your choosing by just dialing up the same number, 615-737-9986. Hit the text feature or the message feature, and there you go. You can also reach us on social media. My social media platform has been, as you might expect, in the aftermath of our Heidi Campbell interview, active over the weekend. A lot of frustrated activists who are against school choice coming after me for being such an SOB. How dare I set up Heidi Campbell in the manner that I did? They are unaware of the fact that she asked to be on the show. I did not ask her to be on the show. She called me, in other words. I did not call her. But more on that coming up in just a couple of minutes as well. But you may communicate via the X machine or any platform. Just type in Matt Murphy Show on the I'm on X primarily, Facebook secondarily, and all the rest. I'm there. I mean, Instagram, I'm there. Some of the others, I'm there, but I rarely, if ever, interact on those other ancillary platforms. So at Matt Murphy Show, if you're looking for me on social media, and believe it or not, I actually communicate back with you on most occasions. I block no one. I mute. I've probably blocked 3 people all time. Just absolute trolls, but I've muted a few people from time to time. They continue to yammer. I just don't hear them. But I will never mute you. I promise you that. Once again, at Matt Murphy Show on social media. So obviously the quote-unquote immigration bill has dropped over the weekend. It is horrible. It's worse than we could have possibly imagined. It legalizes that which is currently illegal, and it does not solve the problem of the illegal side of things. In other words, it's an amnesty bill. This is a blanket amnesty bill, not just for this is, and I have not heard it characterized this way. And if someone has already done it, hat tip to them, but I think I'm first in this. This is an amnesty bill for people who have yet to come to the country. Y'all realize that, right? If this bill were to pass, it would give an opportunity for those who want to enter the United States of America illegally to do so legally per the language of the bill. In other words, it takes an already overrun system and guarantees that that system will be more so overrun in the future, and it's doing so for naked political reasons. Now, those that are advocating and advancing this legislation know that it's horrible for the United States of America, and they don't care, because either way, they feel like they get what they want out of it. Either they get an overrun of individuals that they believe by to the tune of 7 or 8 to every 10 of them will vote Democrat once they get the right to vote, or alternatively or simultaneously, it will also tilt the House of Representatives to more liberal states, guaranteeing the populations of those liberal states will increase while the populations of the red states will remain stagnant. And so you shift the representation when you do the census counts toward those states with the more populated areas, whether they're illegal or not. Or, and I think this is the bigger play, it gives them an out on the issue. At least they think it does. And I'm going to break that down for you today. Before I get more into this subject, I welcome the rest of the players of the show. Mac Morey's taking a lunch break, but he'll be back directly to give us some headlines. In the meantime, we get ABC News. I know. And Bell K remains behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. He does a great job. He chooses not to be on certain social media platforms, to include SuperTalk TV. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch is up and running. You can see my ugly face with, I'm repping the Nashville sweatshirt today. You know, repping the city. Bell K is here.
Isn't it?
Well, the wife bought it. It was one of those, I'll wear this to bum around the house, or you can wear it to bum around wherever you bum around. Okay. So I just saw it in the closet and grabbed it because I was feeling bummy. It is episode 505, and today's television episode is entitled
Matt Murphy Show. I hope he doesn't kick the producer out. Libertarian lunch, number 3, fish and chips.
Well, here's the thing, and that's getting a lot of play. And if you've not heard it, I can re-rack it for you. That I gave Heidi the boot. I don't know that I gave her the boot. I told her options forcefully toward the end of our interview. And if you missed it, it's up on all of our social media platforms. You can find it at 997WTN.com. I think. Is it up yet? It wasn't up over the weekend.
No.
It's not up there.
I've double published it and it still won't go up.
Because why would we want people to have access to it? So it is up on the television platforms. So if you go to SuperTalk 99.7 WTN on YouTube or on Facebook, those are the best ways to do this. You'll find our show from Friday, and you go to about the 30-minute mark, and that's where the interview starts. Otherwise, I have posted, we've chopped it up. It's been chopped up by several different platforms so that others around the country can consume the conversation regarding school choice. And it is on my social media platform. Go to @MattMurphyShow, follow me, and you can find it there. But toward the end of the conversation, it was for those who missed it, Heidi Campbell and I talked about school choice. Heidi Campbell asked to be on the show to tell us what a scam and a sham this new bill was, despite the fact that she's not read the new bill, and I well know that because the new bill has yet to be inserted in the placeholder that currently exists. Now, this is a little inside baseball for those of you who don't know, but I knew this when I was interviewing Heidi, and Heidi kept telling me that the bill is awful, and she kept talking about the Arizona bill and how horrible the bill was and how it just reflected the Arizona legislation. And I want nothing to do with Arizona. I don't care about Arizona. By the way, there are good reports coming out of Arizona that legislation is doing the work that it was designed to do, and that is to give parents more choices and more freedoms. And here's my goal here, okay? I'm not getting paid by anybody. I can't say the same for Heidi or whomever is advocating one way or the other. I don't know. I know that I work for Matt Murphy, and I speak for Matt Murphy. And I want to give parents the maximum amount of tools in their educational toolbox so as to best educate their children. Period. The end of the discussion. And I also believe that competition will give them another tool in their toolbox, another arrow in their quiver. To have choices. When they are locked into one and one choice only, that limits their ability to better educate their own children. That is it. That is my entire interest in this subject, is to give you parents the best ability to have your children educated by qualified professionals. So to give your children the best foundation for a great life in the United States of America. That's it. That's it. So I was called, or I think Heidi actually texted me. Heidi and I have known one another. I invited her on when it was pretty, we weren't long on the show when I had Heidi on. She was not yet running for mayor. There was some issue that was going on in the Tennessee Senate, and I've never been afraid of interviewing Democrats. I've never been afraid of interviewing liberals, and so
I apologize for the interruption.
Yeah, go ahead.
I lied. It finally did show up, so it is.
Okay, very good.
If you want to hear the whole thing, it's like 21 minutes long. Just go to 997wtn.com, Matt Murphy Show page, and it'll be right there at the top of
Bingo.
the podcast list.
Love it. Thank you, Belle. So there it is for you in its entirety. So I knew Heidi from, we had one or two conversations. I think we talked about, the first time that we had her on, it was about the new stadium.
I think that was definitely part of it.
It was a part of the conversation. Anyway, we talked to Heidi. It was pleasant enough. We agreed to disagree on many issues, but, we left it pleasantly enough. She ran for mayor, had her on when she ran for mayor, yada, yada, yada. She called me wanting to know if I would be willing to have her on so that she could explain to our listening audience what a scam and a sham this scholarship bill really was. And I said, sure. Knowing, and Heidi is a product of private education. Her parents chose to send her to private school all of her schooling. She went to Hume Fogg at one point in her education. But obviously, Hume Fogg is a different animal than your typical zoned school. So I knew that. And I also knew that Heidi sends her children to private school. I don't begrudge Heidi doing that, by the way. Let's be really clear here. I want Heidi to have every tool in her educational toolbox in order to see that her children get the best education possible, so that they have the best foundation possible. I don't begrudge her that. What makes her a hypocrite is that she is actively working to prevent other people from being able to do the exact same thing that she did for her children. And it infuriates me. If you think that I sound angry, it's because I am. If you think that I sound frustrated, it's because I am, and you should be too. There are politicians that are do as I say, not as I do, hypocrites, and Heidi Campbell's one of them. And you're thinking, well, Murphy, how dare you say that? You wouldn't say that to her face. Yes, I did. I said it directly to her face. I said, no, I'm not insinuating anything. I'm calling you a hypocrite and a liar. She's a hypocrite because her actions do not match up with her actions as a a Tennessee senator, her actions as a parent. Secondarily, she is a liar because she continuously referred to her reading of the bill, which she has not read. And that's what I want to get to. I just want to make sure that people understand this point because there's some confusion on it. In the legislative process in the state of Tennessee, there is a date certain by which you must have filed a piece of legislation in order for it to be considered in the current session. And that date has now passed. Sometimes legislators do not have bills ready that they know that they want to present during the current legislative session. And so they file what are known as placeholder bills. I'll give you what legislation were we talking about the other day? It was with
Cameron Smith and the juvenile rights bill.
The juvenile rights bill was a place. So yeah. There was a date coming up where they had to have the bill filed, and they wanted to do something on juvenile rights and the rights of a juvenile to speak with their parent if they run afoul with the law and they're incarcerated for a certain period of time. Bottom line is a placeholder was filed. In other words, they put a bill in the hopper. They call it, Bill 2802. And they know that they're going to wholesale swap that bill out for another piece of legislation, but they do that so that they can beat the filing deadline. Everybody clear?
The placeholder had something like, if you're a juvenile and you're pulled over for speeding, you can get a $50 ticket or something like that. That has nothing to do. I mean, it's basic. It's about juveniles, but as you said, it's going to be wholesale swapped.
Right. So I think what they do is they try to find a bill that kind of deals with the same subject matter, and they throw it in there. So what they've done with the governor's education bill, it's my understanding, is they've put something in place to hold that bill's place number. But everyone on Capitol Hill, including Heidi Campbell, knows that the bill has not dropped yet. The people drafting the bill tell me that it will drop this week, at earliest next week, probably, but maybe this week. The governor is no doubt going to spend a healthy portion of his State of the State address tonight dealing with educational choice, freedom of opportunity in the state of Tennessee, and the scholarship freedom bill that is set to drop some point this week. I promise you, without having any advanced knowledge, I can almost guarantee that there will be details in the governor's speech tonight. So Heidi knows that as well. So she sits here in front of me, and more importantly, she says to you that she's read the bill. No, she has not read the bill. You know you've not read the bill. You know you're playing with the language. You know you're doing so to lie to the people, and I'm going to call that out. And so I did. And she did not like that, as politicians typically don't. I have noticed that in the political world, they run away from the word lie. I mean, they scatter like it's a fart in a car, man. They scatter when somebody says the word lie. Because in the world of politics, apparently, there are no lies. There are just subtle shades of gray. There are, differences of opinion. There is misinformation. There is, what was it that Hillary Clinton called it? Oh, she misspoke. I misspoke. That's a big one. Well, Heidi Campbell did not misspeak. And look, it's not personal. The woman, for what it's worth, if I saw her right now, I'd hug her neck. I mean, I don't have anything personal against her, except that I believe that in her actions as a Tennessee senator, she is hurting Tennessee families. She's actively hurting Tennessee families. And she either knows it or she should know better. So, to wrap up the thought, because some are like, oh, he booted her out. I called her a hypocrite. I told her why I believed that she was being a hypocrite. I called her a liar. I told her why I thought she was being a liar. I'm not using that to make it personal. I'm saying that to make it plain where I am on what she is saying on a 100,000-watt radio station. And I think I owe it to my listeners. I don't owe a damn thing to Heidi Campbell. I don't owe anything to any of these politicians. I owe everything to you. Everything to you. And so because I owe you the truth, I say these things. And she said, well, I'm not going to sit here and be called a liar. And I said, well, you can leave. And then she looked at me funny, and I said, no, seriously, goodbye, get up and leave. And she did. And she did. The filing deadline has already passed. The bill is being crafted. We will all have ample opportunity to delve into the meat and potatoes of the bill. There are some on the conservative side of things already destroying a bill that they've yet to read. There are some that have already predetermined that they're going to be against it because of who's for it. And I think that is bad politics when you've got these super-duper purity conservatives deciding for themselves that because it wasn't their idea that they're going to be against anything that comes out of this. That's wrong, too. And these are the same type of purity conservatives that claimed to be in favor of school choice until we actually had an opportunity to see school choice happen. Once again, to be real clear, my goal is to give every single parent in the state of Tennessee, regardless of background, regardless of race, color, ethnicity, regardless of financial circumstances, I want you to have every possible tool in your child's educational toolbox to do best by your child and for their future. That's it. And right now, we're not getting it. I'm open for any idea that will get us there. It's 1225 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. February is American Heart Month, and it reminds us of the staggering statistic that heart disease caused 1 in every 5 deaths in the United States of America in 2021. This highlights the critical importance of heart health awareness. Connection to love and family, that's always important. I mean, in February, the month of love, we want to show caring and love for our loved ones themselves. Right now at Kraft Body Scan, to celebrate American Heart Month, they are offering an exclusive deal, a couple's heart and lung scan. Listen now, for $99. It's an incredible opportunity. They've never gone this low. It is there to take a vital step in preventative health care. This Valentine's Day, go beyond the traditional gift and give the gift of health and longevity to your loved one with a comprehensive heart and lung scan. I want you to get this opportunity and make the most of it. Call now to book your scan today. 615-436-1000. 615-436-1000. The perfect way to show true love during Heart Awareness Month. It's craftbodyscan.com. Absolutely love the engagement. We'll engage with Robbie Starbuck coming up in 5 or 6 minutes or so. You may engage by calling us up at 615-737-9986 or dialing us up on the super text line, same number, 615-737-9986. Ray writes in and says, are you going to have the so-called conservatives that are against the education bill on? Yes, of course I will. I don't know where Brandon Lewis is. He's with the Tennessee Conservative News down in Chattanooga, I think. I'm having a conversation with him tomorrow. I don't know where Gary. I've repeatedly asked Gary Humble to come on the show, and he's repeatedly declined. So that is a standing invite. He's welcome. He's with the an organization that's already claimed that they're against it or whatever, despite the fact that Gary ran for public office after he came to the state of Tennessee. I think he ran for public office, and part of his platform was school choice for parents. Yeah, now he says he's against this bill. maybe he knows something that I don't know. One way or the other, he is well invited to be a part of the show. Fletch is next up in Nashville. Fletch, thank you for your call. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you.
Hey, man, I was just calling. I tried calling you Friday, man, but I'm pressure washing like I'm doing today. Man, I appreciate you going in on her, dude, because, my son has autism, and he went to Watertown Elementary, man. He went there for pre-K. It was great. And he went there for kindergarten, man. And one day he came home with poo smeared in his hair. They couldn't tell me how that happened. One day he came home and got butt naked in class. Just some things, man. Then I get a report card coming home saying he's got 100 in math, 95 in reading. My son's nonverbal. So I'll go up there and I have to see work and everything like that. They don't even have it. Tell me it's going to take a while. So long story short, I pulled my son out of that school, and I've got him in a private school just for kids with autism. And luckily, insurance does pay for that. However, they make it so hard, like you have to battle with them. Like, my son's approved till June, and then they're only going to start paying for half of his care there. But the school choice program would cover that other amount there. And the amount of parents that I've talked to at that school where insurance has done kick their kids out of school, they can't go there at the school they need. And now my son uses a device, talks with the device, is very self-sufficient ever since he's been at that school the last 2 years. And you're telling me that woman wants us to have to take our kids out and force them back into the public school where those things are happening. I mean, I'm sorry, man. I don't care if public schools like that fail. Because if that's the kind of teaching you're doing and that's the kind of, that's what's going on, those schools deserve to fail. The kids deserve better than that, man. And it's just like having someone like you go so hard on that woman like that, that's what needs to be done, man. Because like you said, she went to private school. She sent her kids to private school. We know what goes on at some of these public schools, man. And, the curriculum they're teaching with some of these woke teachers. And if enough people pull their kids out of those schools for whether it's issues like mine and my son or issues like other people, those schools will shut down. And maybe, just maybe, our curriculum will start to get fixed and we'll start hiring correct teachers again.
And Fletch, I'm glad that you're in a better situation, and I wish you the best. And my goal is to make sure that you have every educational opportunity for your youngster that you can possibly have. And I thank you for the call. I'm going to run along. I'm late, but God bless you and God bless your family. The goal is to make sure that you have every tool available in your toolbox. Can I give you every one? No, probably not. We'll never fill that toolbox like we should, but we're giving every opportunity for the parents to use those tools to do the best that they can to construct the best education possible. It's 12:33 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, pardon me. 1238. Matt Murphy and you. We'll get back to your calls momentarily. Lots of activity on the super text line as well, and on social medias, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Obviously, tonight is the State of the State address. Bill Lee visited Eagle Pass, Texas, along with, I think, 12 other fellow governors. Oddly absent Governor Kay Ivey from Alabama, but I'll leave that for another time. Bill Lee was there yesterday. Tonight, he will be offering remarks to the state of Tennessee regarding what he hopes to accomplish in the legislative session, to include remarks about school choice and the possibility of a scholarship program that could advance the notion of giving parents their ultimate rights and the freedom to choose an educational path that is best for their children. To speak on this matter, to talk about his speaking engagement tomorrow on this matter, we welcome Robbie Starbuck back to the show. Always good to catch up with Robbie and see what he's got going on. Hey, Robbie, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, sir?
I'm fabulous. How's your cow?
Cows. I have more than one. I've got a couple cows, and they're doing good.
Wait, wait. You've got multiple cows now?
We do. We've got a bull.
Ah, well.
Yes, we've got a heifer and a bull. And the heifer, she's fantastic. She's halter trained. She's great. She's like the best cow in the world. The bull is a bull. He is definitely.
You should do a video on the differences between boys and girls according to your cows, because
yes, 100%, 100%. Anybody who tells you there's not a difference between boys and girls have not met cows. Okay, bulls are definitely bulls. He is very headstrong. Halter training with him has been a nightmare. Probably the best way to put it.
That's awesome. For those who have not joined Robbie on social media, Robbie and Landon. Rob, you I don't know how you pulled this off, but you got the cow and gave it to your wife as a present without her knowledge, right?
Yes, and for the record, that is literally the first surprise I was able to pull off in 16 years of marriage, okay? So I'm awful at surprises, terrible at it, and my kids helped me a little bit, at least the two older ones. The youngest one, we knew we couldn't tell her or she'd squeal. But the two older ones were kind of like the outlet so that I wouldn't accidentally tell her. Anytime I wanted to talk about a surprise, I'd talk to them. Because for the last 16 years, whenever I even thought about a surprise, I would accidentally let it out ahead of time.
Well, it's incredible that you pulled it off. And if you want to find out more, go to Robbie's social medias and look there. Speaking of you on social media, I want to get this because if I don't, I'll lose it and I'll forget about it. Tell me about this incredible film that you launched. I think you launched it on X, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So first documentary ever launched on X. Elon Musk, him and I had a convo, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do it there. And my wife and I, this is really a culmination of all of our work when it comes to protecting kids, because this journey started for us about 10 years ago when our oldest daughter, who's 15 now, was getting into school. And, I was director to a lot of like Oscar-winning actors, actually. So we were in a school where there's a lot of celebrity kids and things like that. And it was honestly the breeding ground for all the craziness we now see in schools. So my wife and I were early on catching on to that. This is a toxic ideology. This is really like they're selling all these ideas about tolerance and, equality and or equity and things like that. But they're trying to wrap it up to make it sound good. But this is all really evil stuff on the inside. It's like a baked in toxic ideology. So we decided to make this movie, a decade later, that really puts together all the puzzle pieces, connects all the dots of every part of this war, from the nonprofits to the government to Hollywood, entertainment, human trafficking, big pharmaceutical companies, how they all connect, intersect, and work together to push the next generation toward the left and really sort of a modern communist philosophy. And so we're not just scaring people, we're also showing them the path forward, where America can go back to sanity and can rip power and control away from these communists and really return to an America we can all be proud of and give our kids the freedom and opportunity that they deserve to have. We need the bravery of our founders. And so this film is important. I mean, have you ever heard of a film where it has millions of views in 48 hours, the media refuses to cover it, and You've got the big tech platforms banning ads for it. Facebook has banned ads for it. YouTube has banned ads for it. And TikTok has banned ads for it. Okay, this is a movie that the elite do not want people to see, but you can see it at thewaronchildren.com.
Thewaronchildren.com. It fascinates me how interrelated our subject regarding school choice is with the subject matter of the documentary, in as much as we are dealing with a bunch of leftists that seem to want to control every aspect of a child's education without regard for what the parent feels is best. At the same time, they want a free-for-all when it comes to, mutilating the child's physical appearance without regard for what the parents want. I mean, so there's a common thread here that the state, quote unquote, thinks that it is far more important in terms of what you can or cannot do with your child and the child's future than they believe the parents are. I mean, this is directly, and I know this is intimate for you, Robbie, based on your background. I mean, this is out of a Castro-like playbook where the state takes over every aspect of your child's life so as to direct them in a particular way. I'm interested in seeing a parent have every tool in their toolbox to educate their children in the best way for them and their families. Tell me about your interest, and tell me about the rally tomorrow with AFP.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, you could have just repeated a summary of our film in many different respects, because we go into the entire history of this, why it's happening, how it's happening. We prove all of this craziness is going on in our schools. It's why school choice is so important. The same government entities that believe that you should be able to give a sex change to a child are the same people who believe they know better about what school's best for your child and what education they should receive. So anybody who tells you, the government has kids' best interests in mind, I just want you to think about that. This is the same government who is currently transitioning the children of United States military soldiers in secret without telling their parents, okay? That is actual DOD policy. They do not have to tell parents. So anybody who tells you the government, is looking out for kids is just bold-faced lying or ignorant about the reality of what our government is doing. So school choice unlocks and unleashes the true prosperity and possibilities that our children really should have. And so, AFP Tennessee and I are fighting super hard for this. We've got this little rally tomorrow. It's not some giant thing, but it's really meant to have an impact on lawmakers, because after we talk together, we're going to gather together at the Capitol. Then we're going to go meet with lawmakers and let them know why school choice is so important to us. Because for an average Tennessee family, the idea you can get $7,000 of your tax money given back to you per child so that you can choose a better school for your kid is honestly one of the most uplifting things you could possibly ever have government do. And in a time where government seems to want to give your money to every other country in the world but do nothing positive for you, it seems like a no-brainer to say, you know what? Yes, we want this. We want this for our kids, and we are going to demand it. So if you have time tomorrow, show up 10 a.m. at the Capitol and get together with us, and let's go talk to lawmakers. It's going to be productive and a real-life, honestly, bring your kids, because it's going to be a real-life, experience in how you can make laws happen and how you can affect change on the state level. But in Tennessee, AFP Tennessee and I are going to do everything we can to make this a reality.
There are some complaints, and I think they're perhaps premature in conservative circles, Robbie, about what we're hearing regarding the legislation. And those complaints revolve around, for the most part, the fear that any government involvement in private education or homeschooling will lead to government control. And I share that fear, and I know that you do as well. But I think that it is up to people like you and me and others to make sure that this legislation doesn't do just that. I am assured by the architects of the legislation yet to drop that they are providing, guardrails and safety rails to prevent government encroachment into private education. What do you say about that aspect to all of this?
I've been given the same assurances. Obviously, once you see the bill, then, you go from there. But I've been given the same assurances, and here's the reality, though, that everybody needs to understand, because there's some organizations out there that'll fundraise off of opposing anything that, Bill Lee does. They're just like, hey, we're going to fundraise against it. And here's the truth, okay? Very few people will say this. The legislature has the power right now to get in the middle of any private entity here in the state or homeschooling area and impose some sort of regulation. If you don't believe me, just look at a state like California, where they don't have school choice and the government dictates all kinds of crazy rules to the point it is extremely difficult to homeschool your child, okay? A legislature can do that. They get away with it all over the country. They have not done that in Tennessee because they know it's crazy and they know that this is a state with voters that will punish them for that type of, regulation. We are anti-regulatory in this state in general, okay? I don't believe in a bunch of regulations. I don't like a bunch of regulations. It's bad for the economy, bad for business, bad for everybody. So I think they understand that this needs to be something that unleashes freedom and also allows for people to make their own decisions. And that's why it's going to be an opt-in situation. So you have to choose to want to do this. But I don't think that it's going to come along with the strings of, hey, we're going to impose this on you as homeschoolers. You have to teach this. I've been given every assurance that is not the case. And I think that, people need to really open up to this idea and also understand that the vast majority of Tennesseans want this. There may be some people opposed, but understand the majority of your state by large wants this for their families. And there's good reason why, because a lot of our public schools in big cities are failing. There's some great schools in our state, make no mistake. There are some fantastic ones. So, that goes back to let's give our parents choice so that they can get away from the bad schools, stay at the good ones. It's up to parents. I trust parents at the end of the day. Anybody against this bill in the legislature, that's my one question for them. Why do you not trust parents to make this decision?
Tomorrow, 10 a.m., AFP. Robbie Starbuck will be there at the Capitol. Corey DeAngelis will be there as well. Corey will be on our show at 1 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, too. That's just after the free lunch that's being provided by Americans for Prosperity. There's also some other giveaways and whatnot that we'll be talking about. Robbie, I appreciate your leadership in this matter. I encourage people to go watch your film on what I call the X machine, because that's all I know to call it. Elon says don't call it Twitter anymore, because I think it's a very, very important moment for parents to figure out for themselves how involved they need to be to make sure that the state does not continue to try to encroach upon their rights to raise their children in a manner of their choosing. Thank you for all of your hard work and your wife's hard work in that regard.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, thewaronchildren.com. Go watch it, enjoy it, gift it to your friends and family. You can gift it on that website too.
What's the heifer's name?
That is Honey Bear, and the bull was Teddy Bear. If I could go back in time, I would change the bull's name. I'm not sure to what, but something definitely that implies a lot more difficulty.
That's funny. Well, I implore you, I beg of you, to stop putting up videos of Honey Bear on the internet, because my wife sees them, Robbie, and you know what she says when she sees them?
I want one.
I want one. That's exactly right. Thanks a lot. Can I?
I'm sorry.
When I finally fold and cave and buy her one, I'm just gonna ship it to your place so we can stay out there with you. Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. See you. Take care. So we'll see you tomorrow. There's Robbie Starbuck joining us for a few good minutes. Have you seen his cow?
Bought his wife a cow.
He bought his wife a cow. A cute little. I don't know what kind of cow it is, but it's one of those cows with the curly hair on the face.
He's a born romantic, isn't he?
His wife wanted a cow, so he bought her a cow. But you know what he had to do? And I got mad respect for this. He had to build a barn for the cow on his property. And so he had to white lie his wife and tell her that it was for a different thing. It's like, oh, that's going to be I don't know what he told her, but he's like, oh, that's my shop.
He had to do a distraction.
Yeah, that's for this thing or that thing. Totally. And so they built the property with her expectation that it was for something else, and they built on the property, and then one day the little cow's out there, and man, oh man, it's cute.
I love how he ratted out the youngest child too. That'd be the squealer.
You know how it goes with that. Teddy Bear. You can call it Teddy Bull. 1252 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Your call's coming up. James and Mike, hang in there. We'll get to you on the issue of education. We'll also get to immigration in the second hour. Never you fear. We'll cover it all for you on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk. It's a dangerous world out there, and Defense Systems is a life safety and security consultation firm based right here in Middle Tennessee, specializing in physical security consultation and active violence mitigation training. What does that mean? for you and your place of business. When you call Brink Fiddler, he talks to you about your staff, the number of people that you have. Are they aware of what they should do in the unlikely event that they experience violence in the workplace? Are you aware of what you should do? Are you aware of best practices? Do you have an action plan in place for your business, for your school, for your church? If you do not have an action plan at the ready, if you don't have an answer to some of these questions I'm asking at your fingertips, you need to call Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems, because it is unlikely that violence will descend itself upon your workplace. I know it doesn't feel that way if you watch the news, but it is unlikely. However, it is not zero. Hope is not a plan, folks. It is time to get trained in a dangerously developing world. Let's get trained with the best. Let's get trained with Brink Fiddler and Defense Systems. DefenseSystems.com for more information, DefenseSystems.com, or 615-236-6484, 236-6484. You can also become a part of the team. They're hiring at Defense Systems. Find out more going to DefenseSystems.com. That's DefenseSystems.com. As promised, we'll get back to your telephone calls coming up in just moments on the Matt Murphy Show. 1 hour down and 2 to go. Mike and James want to talk about school choice, and they've been holding for a while. If you have something to say, 615-737-9986. 615-737-WWTN. We'll also get into immigration and the plan that was unveiled over the weekend, the garbage plan. That's coming up next. You know, odds are when you call your average heating and air conditioning company out to diagnose whether you need to replace your unit, they're going to tell you yes. Now, a lot of times that answer is yes, because your unit has just extended. I mean, it has a life cycle, right? The heater, air conditioner, as a combination, they're going to go out at some point during the life of your home and during your time in your home. Well, but if I told you they were telling you 2 or 3 or 4 years ahead of time that would probably bother you because it's literally pulling money out of your pocket. Well, the best way to head off costly repairs is obviously maintenance, but the best way to make sure that you're not getting shaken down is to call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. I mean, that is the way to put it. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, they don't work on commission. They pride themselves on making sure that they give you the education and the opportunity to make an informed decision about what to do with your next unit. Now, if Jeff says it's time, you can trust that it is time, and they're a diamond contractor with Mitsubishi Electric and an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. But I know that they're going to give you the opportunity to get the maximum life out of that heater, the maximum life out of that AC. That's what I love about them. That's why I recommend them. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. Call today at 615-784-4424, 784-4424, or efficienthvac.net. All right, here we are, and here we go. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show. Hour number 2 starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN this Monday, February the 5th. Episode 505 is ongoing. Couple of things to clean up from the first hour. One, thank you to Robbie Starbuck for being with us. We appreciate that. Number 2, if you want to catch our interview with Robbie, that happens right around 3 o'clock this afternoon, right after we go off the air. But if you want to catch any previous interview that we've done, you can join us on the television side of things, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. They are always archived over there. You can also find it on 997WTN.com, to include our interview with Senator Heidi Campbell, which wasn't up over the weekend, but we got it up bright and early this morning. So there you go. 615-737-9986. If you'd like to be a part of the show, we'd love to have you. 615-737-9986. I was in the midst of an investment seminar, an online investment seminar, Saturday night. Me and a bunch of the boys get together and we talk about investments.
Online
investments. Now, this is legal because there's no rake. So there are programs available where boys can get together, or boys and girls can get together and be boys and girls and play poker.
And is it legal if there's no hoe?
No hoe?
Right. Rakes, hoes, spatulas.
Oh, yeah. I was very confused. Yes, it is legal as long as there's no hoe nor no rake. The idea is, like at a gambling casino, the way that they make money on poker rooms is they take a rake of each pot. It's like $1 or $2 in each individual pot, depending on how big the pot gets. And as long as you don't have a rake, you're allowed to have online or in-person poker games. So in the city of Nashville, for example, I would imagine on every Friday or Saturday night, there are poker games that are perfectly legal as long as the house does not take a rake of the amount of money wagered. You're allowed to have those friendly type of engagement. And at least I believe that's true. It was in Alabama. One way or the other. So I'm in the midst of that. And as I'm doing that, the wife's in bed, the dogs are in bed. I'm online. I'm sitting downstairs in the den or living area. And on comes Saturday Night Live. And I don't really watch it unless it comes on. I was watching the news, and I allow it to stay on in the background just to see what's up. And the opening segment is a send-up of the Gayle King and Charles Barkley nonsense that they do on CNN called King Charles, which is awful. And they were making fun of that. And then they had Donald Trump on, and they were making fun of him. And the guy doing Donald Trump was really good. And then Nikki Haley shows up and ruins it all. I can handle cringe. And I couldn't handle this. It was so cringy that I had to give it up. I had to say no. I turned it off. It was so bad. But I will relate it to you coming up in mere moments. We'll also talk about the immigration bill that dropped over the weekend. But I promised that I would get to callers holding on to discuss school choice. It's such an important issue. It's one that I'm certain the governor, Bill Lee, will discuss tonight in his State of the State address. It will be much discussed over the course of the week. James is here to talk about it right now. Hey, James, how are you?
I'm doing well, Matt. I'm really, really glad you had Robbie ring in on this, because it just goes back to what I was going to say about school choice. And let me start off by saying a few of us on Facebook a while back, when we thought that the good old boy network had just done us in a couple of elections. We started with Carol Swain and the write-in pushes for Carol Swain, and then with Robbie's election, the write-in Robbie was a few of us here in Davidson County that were just really pushing and just just going from the mountaintops, all grassroots. So I'm really glad he called in, because we were supporting him because he wasn't part of that good old boy network. You know what I mean?
Wait, so the good old boy network is alive and well, trust me, if that's what you mean.
Yes, it is very alive and well. Robbie wasn't going to be part of that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, and I thought it was a huge mistake on the part of Scott Golden, and I've established my belief that I think it is a mistake on the part of Golden to make these ridiculous rules to exclude obvious conservatives from being a part of the Republican Party in the state of Tennessee. I'm not a part of that club, but I think it's absurd what they're doing.
It is absolutely absurd. But when it comes down to school choice, these so-called conservatives in Tennessee, the good old boys that are arguing against it, do they not understand with the Milton Friedman thing? How could you not look at that and say that school choice is the actual market solution to the government failure that they've created?
Well, of course it is. I don't know that they care. They want their version of what they believe is best for your children. Some of them, I won't say all of them, but I think some of these folks are speaking in a way where they want what they want in schools, not to give the parents the opportunity to see what they want. Secondarily, they're prejudging all of that. I can only do what I can do I don't do well nipping around the edges, so let's just hit it. The Tennessee Stands folks, for example, they are probably the largest Middle Tennessee voice that has come out against the idea of specific school choice in this context. I think they're against it because of who's for it. Gary Humble is not going to be for something that Senator Jack Johnson is currently championing in the Tennessee Senate. And it doesn't matter what it is. And that's not being... if that's where you are on it, just at least be honest about that. I don't believe Gary is against this legislation because of the nature of the legislation. I think he's against this legislation because of who's promoting it.
Possibly. And from my point of view, as a taxpayer in Davidson County, as a property taxpayer, property taxes go, and they just raised them so much a couple of years ago. The property taxes that we pay go to two main functions: schools and prisons. I don't have kids, but I've got a degree in economics, and I know if we put the right investment on the right end of that, we can diminish the return on the prison side. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, of course. Better educational opportunities, and more importantly, better educational outcomes. Especially for those who come from a disadvantaged situation to begin with, it is obviously going to create dynamics by which they become a good piece of the fabric of society, as opposed to something that tries to tear at the fabric of society and ultimately ends up in our prison system, obviously.
And as somebody who's paying taxes and doesn't have kids, if I'm going to be paying those taxes, I want it to efficiently serve the children in this system around me, because you know what? Those kids are going to eventually have to be taking care of my old butt in a nursing home sometime.
No, it matters to all of us. I don't have children either, James, but I'm a fierce advocate for the freedom for parents to choose, because I believe that level of competition. I am a student of Milton Friedman as well. And I believe that the free market is best able to handle any of these circumstances and situations. It might be messier on the front end. It might seem like a pie-in-the-sky, easy solution to have government take it over, but government never does anything better than the private sector that I can tell.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you letting me ring in, too.
That's no
thanks,
problem.
Robbie.
No problem, James. I appreciate you. I really... I understand that the devil is always in the details when it comes to these things, And once you launch something like that, let's not forget what the overarching premise is when it comes to educating our young people in Tennessee. Is the current system working? You know, it's like one of those flow charts. For leftists, you know what I'm talking about? Like flow charts or organizational charts is like, is this, then go here. And if it's not, then go here. And then when you go there, you get asked another question. Is the blah, 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 the blah, blah, blah. And you go there. And if it's not, you go over there. For the political left, and I am not overstating the case, everything leads to money. Any question you ask, any result that you seek, when it comes to education, every answer leads to money. One of the things that got us off the rails with Heidi last week was my question about how much money is enough. Well, she's sitting here talking about we don't adequately fund education, and until we fully fund, she said the words fully fund, which I hate. I hate that phrase with every fiber of my being. Fully, what does that mean? According to leftists, education is never fully funded. I promise you. Because Heidi said, I said, how much do you want? How much is enough? I mean, I'm not suggesting that you don't need more money. I'm just asking you. You say it's not fully funded, then you know what fully funded means. If you use that phrase, then you should know what it means. So if you're going to tell me that we're not currently fully funded, that indicates to me that you know what fully funded means. Well, what is that? Is that $8 billion? Is it $10 billion? Is it $12 billion? How much money do you need to guarantee outcomes? Oh, we can't guarantee outcomes. Well, I know you can't. And I know no amount of money is going to present a scenario by which you get better outcomes. You know what will get better outcomes? More parental involvement and more parental ability to make decisions for the betterment of their children. And right now, we don't have enough of either of those things. This bill, I believe, will give a tool to help parents who are already engaged with their children's education. It will give them the tool, one of the tools necessary to better their kids' education. And it will foster an environment to encourage the first piece. Two pieces, parental involvement and parental choice. If you give parents that are already involved the choices, then it will inspire those who perhaps have given up or have never involved themselves in their children's education. It will inspire them to become more involved in their kids' education. Sadly, the political left, the Heidi Campbells of the world, Heidi the hypocrite, she doesn't really, she talks a good game when it comes to parental involvement, but I don't think she wants that. I think she wants the state to take over in that arena. And we've seen what that's led us to. I do not believe that the biggest difference between some of the more affluent and successful suburban school systems and the inner city school systems have anything to do with color. I don't think they have anything to do with demographics or even money. It has everything to do with involvement. And you could correlate those two, and you could say that financial means or ability can lead to less involvement. And that's true. And I understand that that's a discussion that needs to be had. I mean, obviously, if you're working two jobs just to make ends meet, you don't have as much time to help your kid with their homework as somebody that perhaps doesn't have to work, one parent doesn't have to work, or you have a little more extra time. I get all of those things. But if you want to know why the inner city school systems are failing us more rapidly and more regularly than some of the suburban systems, it is because of a lack of parental involvement. There are a lot of dynamics that involve themselves into why that is, but it is what it is. Let's solve the problem without judging it. Let's get to the root of the problem. Let's identify it for what it is. Let's don't cast aspersions as to how we got here. Let's not label it. Let's not try to take advantage of it by saying this person's a racist or that person's a chauvinist or this person's that or that. I mean, I got called a MAGA. She lied. I'm no fan of the teachers' unions. And I've never made any bones about I've never pretended to be a fan of the teachers' unions as they are constructed today. because I don't think that they're not designed to act in the interest of the children. As a matter of fact, given the choice, they will act against the interest of the child if it is to advance the interest of the union. So, of course, I'm going to stand against that. Well, Heidi Campbell has to lie about it and come out this weekend and claim that I called teachers' unions evil. Evil. Well, I did not call them evil. And right now, there's a community note being considered. This is funny to me, Bell. As someone who's been kicked off of the X machine more times than I can count, I think it would be funny to you as well. Sorry to interrupt you eating there. That Heidi is about to be flagged with a community note over her comment that I called teachers' unions evil. Because she puts it in quotes. She says that she was on a MAGA radio talk show, and that MAGA host, me, referred to teachers' unions as evil teachers' unions.
You horrible rhino. You.
I know, I'm awful, aren't I? I'm either a racist MAGA talk show host, or I'm a spineless rhino.
I don't even recall when teachers' unions came up in the conversation.
It was toward the beginning where she defended unions, and I told her that unions were a bad actor in all of this, and that unions did not have the best interest of the children in mind, and that unions were a problem. Unions were part of what was preventing school choice, which is empirically true. Just use the senses that God gave you, and you can see that it's true. And then Heidi extrapolated that and then claimed I called them evil, which I did not do. Words mean things, man. My entire interest in this conversation, in this subject, and whether you want to consider me a voice for school choice, whatever you want to consider me, that's up to you. My goal is to give parents the maximum liberty and opportunity to provide for their children. Is that too much to ask? I use the analogy quite a bit, but I think it's apt. You have a toolbox in front of you. This is your child's education. What tools do you have to make sure that they have the best educational opportunities possible? Going to school board meetings, that's a tool. Involving yourself in the education, that's a tool. Helping your kids with their homework, that's a tool. Going, involving them in extracurricular activities and other school projects. All of these are tools. Making sure that your child is best prepared as they possibly can be for every school day. That's a tool. And making sure if the system and the school itself has failed your child, giving you that tool to make the ultimate determination that you can pull your child from that system and put them in another system, it's incredible. It's an incredible piece of power that the teachers' unions and the government does not want to give back to the parents. They've stolen it, and they do not want to give it back. They've conned you into believing that you have to go to one place for your child's education. If they ask yourself this question, if the government of the United States of America, if the Department of Education and the public education system and the teachers' unions had the ability, honestly, ask this question. If they had the ability today to completely eliminate private and home schools, do you think they would do it? If Randy Weingarten and the head of the American Teachers Union, I guess Randy is the former head. She left, and there's somebody else there now. Do you honestly believe that they would allow private education to continue if they had the ability to stop it? Think about that for a minute. I think you know what the answer to that question is, and I think you very well know why it is. They want the control. They don't care about outcomes. They care about incomes. Their incomes. They don't care about outcomes. They care about their incomes. And I care about your child. I mean that. I care about giving you the ability, and with that comes an incredible amount of responsibility. We'll talk about that on the other side. It's 24 after the hour on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN coming up just after 1:30, around 1:35 or so. We'll welcome Congressman Andy Ogles back to the show to talk about the immigration bill that has been presented in the United States Senate that is going absolutely nowhere in the House of Representatives. As a matter of fact, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson came out over the weekend and said, I reviewed the bill, and we're not even bringing it up. And rightly so. It takes a bad situation and makes it worse. It takes a bad situation regarding illegal activity and makes it worse. If there were not, Joe Biden has every law on the book. Well, I'll wait on this because I want to get to calls. But let me just say, Joe Biden has every law on the books available to him to stop this problem. And if you don't believe me, ask yourself this. How are they illegal? Honest question. How is it that when they get to the state of Tennessee, that they are illegal aliens? Because they've broken the law. What law? What law? Oh, there's a law? Oh, so he already has a law. He doesn't need another law. What a jerk. If they're illegal, by definition, they've broken some law. Where's that law? No. Joe says he needs another law. He needs another bill. He needs something else passed in Congress because he doesn't have any ability to do anything about this. Then how are they illegal? I'm sorry, I got myself worked up. I said I wouldn't do it. Tom is next in Nashville. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, real good there, Matt. I was calling in. I listened to the Friday interview about school choice with Heidi Campbell and just wanted to give you kudos. That whole thing was refreshing. You were not going to let her obfuscate and dissemble and bob and weave and get out of that. And I just cannot thank you enough to get the truth out there and find out that they just really wanted to kill options for parents to let their children have a better future, better education. So thank you so much for that.
Well, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. I do not, and thanks so much for the kind words. You're very good to call. I do not support the current bill because I've not read it. But I certainly don't stand against the current bill because I've not read it. I, generally speaking, support anything that's going to give parents more ability to make decisions about the educational futures of their children. And if this does that, if this takes away an encumbrance or an obstacle, primarily financial obstacles, then I think that's incredible. Heidi Campbell did not have any financial obstacles sending her children to one of the most expensive private schools in the state of Tennessee. She did not have that financial obstacle. And I'm glad for her. And I'm glad that she got the educational opportunity that her parents wanted to give her. And I'm glad that she had the opportunity to give that same educational chance to her kids. And she gives lip service. I'm not against school choice. I'm against this piece of legislation because this is a scam. You've not read it, ma'am. You don't know what's in this bill. You've not read it. Stop saying you have. If you're for school choice, if you're really for school choice, you would be taking a wait and see approach at most, at best, at least. All right, Andy Ogles will shift the attention to our southern border in just a moment. Congressman Ogles joins us next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. Where does it hurt? I mean, if you're of a certain age, I don't have to ask twice, right? You'll say, oh, hip or elbow or knee or lower back or middle back or upper back or neck. I mean, when you reach a certain age, it hurts somewhere. Did you know that you can get pain-free without the need for pills, constantly taking medication on a daily basis, whether it's over-the-counter or prescription, constantly, worrying about having surgery down the road or having to get shots to alleviate the pain? Let's not do that. Let's go to the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. It's so much more than spinal, but they started as a chiropractic center, of course. And now they have red light therapy. They have the Class 5 laser system. They have the incredible advanced technology spinal decompression system, all there for one purpose: to alleviate your pain without artificial needs like pills or needles or surgery. Let's get it together in 2024, friends, and call the Dr. Gill Center. It is a low-cost initial consultation. They'll do x-rays. They'll go over your body. They'll see where it hurts, and they will prescribe something that will be successful that doesn't involve pills. Go to the Dr. Gill Center's website, or better yet, give them a call today, 615-882-4838, 882-4838. Don't take a pill. Call Dr. Gill at the Dr. Gill Center. You know, as we age, we have different interests take hold in life. And as you get older, you shy away from the fast food joints, the drive-through joints, and you want to cook better. You want to eat better. Well, when you begin that process and you start learning around the kitchen, you need to know where you need to get your spices from. And I'm here to tell you, it's from Savory Spice, the one and only. Holly, David, and the rest of the team are so good at what they do. They have 2 locations to serve you. Let's talk about it. So when you walk in, you'll smell the smell. You smell the smell even before you get in there. And at Savory Spice, they have this unique way of showing you the spices and showing off the spices. They have the little tester spices, and you can pour one of those in your hand. You can taste it if you want to taste it. You can sniff it if you want to sniff it, and then you throw it on the ground when you're done with it. That's right. Just throw it on the ground. They'll sweep it up. They'll sweep it away. No worries on that, because when you actually decide to get that spice, they will prepare for you a custom-made bottle of your spice of your choosing, whether it's a salt or a spice, this thing or that thing. I mean, it is custom for you at Savory Spice. Plus, they have blends that they've already prepared. They've got popcorn sprinkle. I gave some to Belle during Christmas. I hear that that's pretty good.
Amazing.
Friends, thank you, Belle. Friends, you need to up your food game. You up your food game by upping your spice game. You up your spice game at the one and only Savory Spice. 2 locations. One is in Franklin, just off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. The other, L&L Market in Nashville. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the one and only Savory Spice. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 37 after the hour. Good afternoon, friends. Hope you're well. Just breaking news real quick. I don't have a lot to say about it except to say that cancer is, well, there's a reason that they say things are a cancer. It's because cancer is a cancer. And it's always horrible to hear that anyone has been diagnosed, particularly those friends of ours in the public eye. King Charles, we are told, has been diagnosed with cancer. Do not know what sort of cancer. His sons, William and Harry, are even Harry, who has kind of been
black sheeped,
disenfranchised from the family. He's going back. So it must be, something more than just a melanoma or something like that. So you're just thinking about that, and that's breaking news, so we present that to you. Congressman Andy Ogles is here to talk about the breaking news that happened over the weekend regarding this long-awaited Senate package, which we thought was going to be a dog. I didn't know it was going to be this big of a dog, but boy, is it a big dog. 5th Congressional District, Congressman Andy Ogles joins us on the show. Hey, Andy, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. So, we always felt like, considering the players that were in favor of this on the Senate side, that it wasn't going to be good. But now that some of the details are coming out, I'm slack-jawed that they think they can pass this over on the people of the United States, Andy. What are your takeaways?
Well, I mean, when it comes to this Senate deal, which is nothing more than amnesty, I'm going to pull a Matt Murphy and just throw it out because I hear that's what you do lately.
That's good.
Brilliant.
That's good. Yeah, just tell it to leave. Would you do that for Mitch McConnell, Andy? Would you walk over to the Senate and just say, "Hey, Senator McConnell, you can just leave," and see if he does it? Because I think we would all benefit as a country if that happened.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna walk over to the Senate and tell Langford. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's a garbage piece of legislation. At first, they were denying that there was an amnesty component, but when you're giving 1.8 million people a year any kind of status, that's amnesty. And I'm going to be dropping a bill that actually is going to call for the deportation of anyone that's come into this country illegally since the Biden administration began, because we've got to take control of our border. We've got to know who's here. And we know we have terrorists now operating in the United States of America. So this is a no-go. Scalise, the Speaker, Johnson have both said that this is not going to see the light of day, and nor should it.
I've made the case today, Congressman, that by definition, and maybe I'm thinking about this right, maybe I'm thinking of it wrong, I don't know, I oversimplify these things, but all right, so we're seeing a cascade, a flood of illegal individuals coming into the country. Illegal, right? And we call them that because what they've done is breaking the law. Yet the Biden administration is standing around talking to any media outlet that will listen, saying that he doesn't have the power to stop it. And I'm thinking, well, they came in illegally, indicating that there was a law that they broke, and that gives the executive branch the enforcement mechanism they need to stop it if they wanted to. Am I missing anything here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they could easily essentially just by executive order, enforce a remain in Mexico policy. They could just close the border itself. I mean, we have technology. Where, whether it's a wall, whether it's drones, whether it's sensors, whether it's wire. I mean, there's ways to control our border, but this administration is literally trying to flood New Mexico, Arizona, and Texas with illegals, trying to essentially guarantee that those states are always blue. And so this is about elections, and this is about really just invading our country through illegal means, so that they, from their perspective, will always control the White House.
I've long said that one of the best things that American and liberty-loving people have going for us is that the political left, when they think they have a winning hand, they always overplay it. And I think that's some of what's going on here, Andy, because I think they were trying to push this issue back onto the Republican Party in an election year, claiming, Biden's been doing this, saying, well, if the Republicans would just pass something, I could do something. But they've overplayed their hand. I just have to believe that even moderate or even left of center Americans will see this legislation and recognize that instead of stopping the flood at the southern border, it's going to add to it, because you're declaring that the first 1.8 million, I guess it's 1.85 or 825 million that get here can come on in. And then Joe Biden has the unilateral ability to let as many as he wants into the country. I think the American people, even the moderates and the squishy left, will see through this.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a huge election year issue. I mean, I think it's a winning issue for Republicans. We passed House Bill 2, which secures the border, almost 8 months ago, and the Senate hasn't done a flipping thing with it. And so I think we're going to have a great 24, but it's imperative that I continue to fight against this kind of nonsense, because it's changing and destroying our country. And, part of it is the crime, but, fentanyl. Every small town in America is being overwhelmed with fentanyl, where you have kids. Otherwise, back in the day, you would have, kids, college kids, maybe experiment with some stuff, and, relatively speaking, it might be safe. But now you could have some weed that's laced with fentanyl, and it's a death sentence. And so this is a dangerous mixture that Biden has led into the country, and it's not going to stop until we, the people, take our country back.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Clinton. Apparently, they're preparing a fundraiser with Obama and Clinton for Biden, which I think is also a tactical mistake. Because I think even if you're a leftist, I hate to put you in this mind space, Andy, but if I'm a Democrat and I go to a fundraiser where there's Biden, Obama, and Clinton, all it makes me want is Obama or Clinton.
Yeah, right.
Right? Even if you're in that space. But you mentioned HB2, and what can we do to help highlight the fact, and I think we do everything we can on Super Talk, that they like to claim the House Republicans have done nothing. The House Republicans were the first to act in this. You got HB2 passed, as you mentioned, 8 months ago, and I know that there are some. Our own Senators Blackburn and Haggerty are on top of this. Mike Lee's on top of it. Ted Cruz is on top of it. I wish more would in the Senate say, look, if you want to pass real border security, we've got SB2, which is the companion piece to HB2, ready to go. That's what we ought to be. We need to diagnose the problem through SB2, correct?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, quite frankly, the Biden administration claims to be helpless, but we didn't have these immigration numbers under Trump. We didn't have these immigration numbers under Obama. This is an intentional act by this president. We're going to move forward with the impeachment of Mayorkas. I think his actions, quite frankly, are criminal. So not only should he be impeached, but I think he's committed treason by allowing our country to be invaded. 8 million people walking across your border in any other circumstance would be an invasion. And, you and I could get arrested for helping one person cross the border and we'd be in prison. And so, yeah, there's a path. We also passed House Bill 1, which was our energy security package, which would get us back to energy independence, which would help commodity prices and so forth. So we've been busy. We've been working. The Senate, however, is they're too busy naming post offices and bridges, I think.
Well, I imagine so. What do you think of the quick response? I know you were caught up in the middle of the Speaker of the House stuff from 2023, and that's behind us now. We got a new Speaker, Mike Johnson. And, you know, the jury was kind of out with Speaker Johnson. We recognized that he was going to have anybody in that role. Ronald Reagan sitting there. You know, Donald Trump himself would have had a difficult time navigating the first 3 or 4 months. So we kind of forgave the continuing resolution package that we saw in front of you. But I'm impressed with his quick action regarding immigration and his stand that he has now taken and his willingness to get in front of this issue in front of cameras and explain the Republican position. What are your thoughts on his leadership throughout all this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, again, this is what the American people are demanding in both blue cities and red cities. And so, like you said, you know, coming into the speakership the way he did would be hard for anybody. It'd be hard for you, hard for me, hard for Jim Jordan. So, you know, it's not been the best of honeymoons, if you will. But we've got to keep working forward and working together because we're going into an election season. We've got to hold the House. We've got to win the Senate. We've got to win the White House. And again, I'll double down and say this immigration issue will be a winning issue for us in these battleground districts that you see in Nevada and Texas and even New York.
What else do the people of Tennessee need to do? Just hold the line on where we are on the issue?
Well, you know, obviously Langford's from Oklahoma, but I would, you know, reach out to your senators, show them support, and if you feel inclined, call, you know, Langford's office in Oklahoma or from Oklahoma, and let him know that we the people do not tolerate this at all, and that they should be passing House Bill 2.
Should we take the step, Andy, and I don't take this lightly because, you know, I don't throw out telephone numbers and tell people to call offices or whatnot very often. But should we encourage Senators Blackburn and Hagerty to push more along with some of their colleagues to get new leadership in the United States Senate? Are you concerned about current leadership over there?
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that this is, you know, look at this one issue itself, that this bill is going to be coming out of the Senate, you know, I would love to see Mitch McConnell, you know, put his foot down and say this is not what the American people want. This runs counter to the narrative that we're you know, pursuing in the House and what the American people are saying. And so it's frustrating that we've had McConnell working against us so much, it seems like.
Donald Trump Jr. referred to Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell as a, quote, mentally declining pro-amnesty turtle. Would you go so far, Andy?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to diagnose him. I will say, you know, there was it's been a few months ago now where he just kind of had that hiccup in his giddy up when he was.
Oh yeah, he froze. Yeah, I remember that.
That's troubling to say the least.
Andy, what else is happening in Washington D.C. that the people of Middle Tennessee need to know about?
Well, the two big things right now is the impeachment of Mayorkas. We have potential impeachment of Biden on the horizon. And then, of course, we've got to stop, we've got to kill, we've got to derail this amnesty bill coming out of the Senate.
Do you believe that you'll have the votes coming out of the House to impeach Mayorkas?
Yeah, it's going to be close. I mean, it literally could be one vote difference, but I do believe that Congressman Green has been working hard, showing up his support, answering questions and concerns that we'll vote to impeach.
Why? I mean, for those who might be in our audience that perhaps are in agreement, as I am, that Mayorkas has engaged in a dereliction of duty to the point that he needs to be removed, and if Biden's not going to do it, the Congress is well within their rights too. However, we know what will happen in this current Senate as it's constructed. Why is this still important to do? Why is it still important to get it over to a trial in the Senate?
Well, we have an obligation to do our jobs, and we have someone that is, quite frankly, you know, met the terms of impeachment. Ergo, we need to follow through on it. So we can't legislate or we can't take actions based off of what the Senate may or may not do. And so, because if we did that, we wouldn't have passed House Bill 1, we wouldn't have, which was the energy bill. We wouldn't have passed House Bill 2, which was our border control bill. And so we've got to control the narrative. We've got to remind people that this is a problem. And, you know, the timing of the Langford-Schumer Senate deal, which is amnesty, you know, tied together almost, it seems, with this Mayorkas impeachment, it couldn't be any better.
Andy, always good to catch up with you. Come see us when you're in town. We appreciate the hard work you do in Washington, D.C., and we'll talk again very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care. There's Andy Ogles, Congressman of the 5th Congressional District, joining us for a few moments, 50 after the hour, 10 till the top on Super Talk. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Still an hour to go, over an hour to go on the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day. We're proud you're here. It's a Monday edition. We're up and running. We're on the FM side of things at 99.7 FM, 100,000 watts of blowtorch power all across Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, Northern Alabama. Wherever you go across these United States of America or nay, the world, you can find us on any number of streaming platforms. I mean, you name a streaming platform and we're there. And if we're not there, tell me and we'll get there. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, whether it's on TuneIn or iHeart, Spotify. And then, of course, I mean, we're on podcast on Apple iTunes. And then there's the Supertalk TV side of things where you can see this ugly face and why I am made. I was born and bred for radio. I am proof that genetics matters. Go to Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and find us there. And if you learn anything on the show today, well, there's a reason that Bell's not on TV. That's one thing. You need to know that. There's a reason that Pretty Mac Maury is, and he's coming up with the news. If I have one piece of advice for you to finish off this hour, stop blaming everyone else for your problems. Pick one person that you really hate and blame them for all of your problems. You get much more satisfaction that way. Here comes the news, Supertalk 99.7 WTN. When we return, Bill Lee at the border. Bill Lee giving his State of the State address tonight. Nikki Haley on Saturday Night Live. Plus, breaking down the immigration proposal and why it's so bad. It's all next on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
Two o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Currently 64 degrees, and wow, a beautiful day in Music City. And got a beautiful week, it looks like, ahead, with highs staying in the 60s and high 50s. Got a full forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, Beach High School in Hendersonville was placed on lockdown today because of a reported bomb threat. Officials have now determined the phoned-in threat to be a hoax. The lockdown was lifted. Students are now going to be dismissed as normal. In the nation's capital, the bipartisan compromise that contains border reforms along with funding for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan is due for a test vote in the Senate on Wednesday. It needs 60 votes to advance, but Republicans in the House say the Senate shouldn't even bother trying. Here's Stephen Portnoy.
Backers say their compromise would make it harder to claim asylum here and end the years-long wait for migrants in the interior of the country. But House GOP leaders say the bipartisan bill would encourage more illegal immigration and that its emergency border shutdown provisions are riddled with loopholes. Former President Trump calls the package a great gift to Democrats and a death wish for Republicans, urging them to reject it with the warning, "Don't be stupid."
And back here in Tennessee, Governor Lee is committing at least 2 more waves of Tennessee National Guard members to support Texas' efforts to secure the southern border. Meanwhile,
Tennessee is a remarkable place.
Governor Lee has posted a preview of tonight's State of the State address. This will be his 6th. That starts at 6 from the State House chambers. And Buckingham Palace says King Charles III has started treatment for cancer discovered after his recent hospital procedure for a benign prostate enlargement. The palace does not say what kind of cancer it is, but they say Charles remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as possible. That is the latest news. Weather forecast next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Tennessee Men's Clinic is your one-stop shop for all things men's health care. They originated the program in 2014. Why? Because they believe men are underserved in the medical community, and that's a lot of reasons for that, not the least of which is that men typically don't like to go to the doctor. And I get it. I understand you like to whistle past that graveyard, gentlemen. Well, this is something that you should not deny, that you should not put off, nor should you be ashamed about. If you've lost energy, motivation, or drive, if you've lost verve and vitality in the bedroom, for example, or in the gym, wherever it might be, wherever these energy losses, this loss of life has manifested itself, understand this. It's something that affects a lot of men, and particularly when it comes to bedroom activities, that affects about 50% of men in the listening audience at some point as they mature. For a decade, the urologists at Tennessee Men's Clinic have provided all day, every day, specialized health care in this regard. They can help you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, but it takes that initiative by you. A simple telephone call, a visit to their clinic, and they'll get the process started. You will feel amazing. It's time to hit your goals this year. They understand scheduling. It's easy to book an appointment. Same day or next day appointments are available, men. Go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Do what so many other men in this community have done, either in the Midtown location or in Cool Springs. 615-208-9090, 615-208-9090, or online, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. It is the final hour. It slipped up on us. Hour number 3 of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being around. We're most pleased you've decided to join us. Mac Morey's back there in the newsroom. I need to put Mac on the spot. Bell, you don't have to get him on air right now, but ask him if he has seen the update on Darius Rucker, the Hootie update. Because if he's not, I just have questions. This is odd. This whole thing is odd.
Hold on a second, Matt. Hold on.
That's fine.
Hey, it's 99.7 on the FM dial if you want to check us out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, has he forgotten? Has he forgotten?
He wasn't paying attention.
By the way, welcome back, Maury.
Hey.
No, that's on me. That's my fault. See, he's been out a few days that I've forgotten that you need to throw a pin or something at him to get his attention.
Hey. Look over here.
Hey, what's going on? You doing? I know you probably did all of this during your stint with Chris Hand this morning, but I didn't hear some of it.
I appreciate it.
How you doing?
Doing better.
All right, good.
Doing better.
Good.
Starting to get there. Don't really know what happened. That's a little weird, but we'll get there. We'll figure it out.
Well, and here's what I would encourage you, and without getting into any details about your private life or your medical condition or whatever, here's what I would say: that what you just went through is a little weird.
Yes.
And I hope that Mama Maury and Hannah and everybody else in your life, because I know how dudes are. I was just talking about it a minute ago, and we go, okay, well, it's over, so
Literally.
it's over. And
exactly.
I know how guys are. So, no, we're not talking about the Tennessee Men's Clinic stuff. So, nobody worry about that for him. But I know how guys are with any issue, and you know, and you just we worry, but we love you.
I appreciate it. I
care
love
for
you guys, too.
Everybody loves you, and everybody misses you. So we missed Friday Mac Attack, but that's okay. I know you felt bad. He sent me a text. This is how I know that Mac actually likes me. Not you, but me.
I know.
Is he sent me a text, and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "Dude, you're sick. You're not well."
I felt bad.
It was like, no, don't.
He should have. He let the show down. He let the show and our listeners down.
You see, it's like a mom-dad relationship.
It is. Exactly.
Friday Mac Attack is right up there with Frajay when it comes to the segments that are important to our audience.
Geez, I don't know about that.
And he just lets the audience down.
No, Friday Mac Attack is the most important segment that happens every Friday at 2:05.
It absolutely is. I 100% agree with that.
And when it's not there, people notice. A lot of people missed you, though. So, and we missed you, and I'm glad you're back. Now,
I appreciate it.
All that said, have you seen this on Darius Rucker? All right, so you saw that he got arrested, right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if this story is misreporting what happened or if I'm just having a difficult time believing it. This was published 2 days ago, and it's out of this local story is WBRC out of Birmingham. I still follow some local stations out of Birmingham where I was for 20 years. Darius Rucker arrested after psychedelic drugs, weed found during traffic stop, police say. And I'm just going to read this and tell me if this fits with everything that we've seen, at least what's been reported locally. So what we knew was that at some point, Darius Rucker got arrested for, he was charged with having illegal substances. It was like a misdemeanor. And then he was charged with, what was the verbiage? It was something like with intent to, not to distribute, but like it was like a change of hands or something. And I forget what it was, but it was something.
Yeah, but it was something real simple, like he passed a joint to somebody.
Yeah, that's what it felt like when we talked about it last week. An arrest affidavit for music star Darius Rucker shows that the alleged offenses happened a year ago. That's the way this local story, published February 2nd, 2024, starts. Rucker, known for being the lead singer of Hootie and the Blowfish, yada, 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 solo career, was arrested nearly a year. He was arrested recently over something that happened last year, is the way this story reads, which is weird. Casual exchange, thank you, 6890. He was charged with like a couple of misdemeanor counts of possession, and then he was charged with casual exchange. Hey, man, you want to blow this joint? No, man, pass it on to the waitress. That kind of thing. Rucker, on February 19th, 2023, a Franklin Police Department officer pulled Rucker over. February 19th, 2023. Pulled him over for a traffic violation on Murfreesboro Road. Police say they smelled the odor of marijuana, the ganja, the wacky tobacco, the left-handed cigarettes, and other lingo.
No longer quoting the article, by the way. That was ad-lib. That was
I like that. Thanks. Like, okay, I'm going to put my news hat on here. I always, my grandpa always called pot wacky tobacco.
wacky tobacco.
I love it. You look like you had some of that wacky tobacco. No, sir. No, sir. Not at all. I've just been drinking. I swear to God. I'm sorry. I'm in a good mood, and normally when I'm in a good mood, I can't keep a thought in my head. That happened to me. I'm like 16 years old, and I'm not promoting any of this. I've been drinking. I'd had a couple, and then I get home, and then my grandpa, it looked like you had some of that wacky tobacco, and the only thing I had, no, sir, I've just been drinking. He laughed. He thought it was funny.
He was like, Did you get in trouble?
No, he said, oh, okay then. There you go. Just don't have those left-handed cigarettes. Like Darius Rucker, kids. Don't be Darius. By the way, you weren't here when I told the story, Mac, of when we were in college. Nobody really liked. I don't know why we didn't like his music in college. I like it now. Maybe that's the point. And so I would refer to, if somebody broke wind, I would say that they hootied. Oh, my God. Who let a hootie?
Oh, dude, you just hootied.
Yeah. And Darius, if you're listening, I'm sorry. I'm matured. I like it now. And you're fine. Whatever. You're a millionaire. When asked, Rucker said, police say they smelled the odor of marijuana coming from the singer's GMC pickup. Hey, he has a GMC like me. I like that. When asked, Rucker said he had, quote, smoked weed in the vehicle, but not that night. As you say. The two most common excuses when police pull you over. Sir, do you know what is almost guaranteed to get you in jail? And obviously, do not drink and drive, don't smoke weed and drive, don't drive impaired, you're endangering other people. Okay, now that is said, something that's going to get you in the back of a police car quicker than anything. Have you been drinking tonight? Oh, I only had 2 beers. No police officer in the history of police officers believes that, whether it's true or not. If you've only had 2 beers, do you know what the proper answer to that question is? No, I've had no beers. If you've actually only had 2 beers. Because if you've had only 2 beers and you say you've had 2 beers, they're going to assume that you're as drunk as Cooter Brown. And they're going to arrest you. Probably. Police, and the other thing is, have you been smoking marijuana tonight? Well, I smoke marijuana with a lot of regularity in this vehicle, sir, but not tonight. That's probably not going to work.
Oh, not tonight? Okay, sounds good.
Oh, well, then not tonight. Well, in that case, off you go. Off you go. Hootie. Smells like Hootie in your car. So police say they searched the vehicle. Oh, they didn't believe him. And the officer found 14 unstamped grayish and purple pills and a THC pen, which read 88.5% THC. It may as well have read illegal dope on the side.
Poor Darius.
I mean, why are they labeling a D? I mean, I guess he bought it somewhere where it was
If this
legal.
was in his personal vehicle, can you imagine what their bus must be like?
Oh, my God, or his apartment.
It's like he's going after Willie Nelson's records.
I love the answer that Willie gave when they asked him what type of weed he bought. He said, I haven't bought, he's like, I haven't bought weed in 30 years. But apparently people like to send Willie their best stuff.
Of course. He's a connoisseur.
They want to test the man. Of course, it's my understanding he stopped smoking weed. He does that water solution thing now. Anyway, because of his lungs. Police say they also found a blunt on Rucker. Rucker told police his girlfriend gave him the item. Oh, man, he threw his gun. No, never. No, this is bad.
On, man.
Come on, Hootie. Rucker said that he told police he gave his girlfriend. No, I'm sorry. His girlfriend gave him the items, and he didn't know what the pills were. Police released Rucker from the scene without charges pending the identification of the 14 pills. An arrest warrant was signed after the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation said the pills tested positive for a psychedelic drug that I cannot pronounce. Let's see if the news guy can do it. You ready, news guy?
I'm so ready.
PSILOCYBIN.
Size. I'd need to see. Oh.
Psilocybin?
Yeah, psilocybin.
Psilocybin. The P's probably silent.
Yeah.
So psilocybin.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Psilocybin, a psychedelic and Schedule 1 controlled substance. A lot of alliteration.
Yeah.
Anxious anchors placed in powerful posts. Rucker is facing charges of simple possession, casual exchange. I guess the casual exchange involves the fact that he tried to throw his girlfriend under the bus and told the police that she gave him the pills. I suppose that's the case. Darius Rucker is fully cooperating with authorities related to the misdemeanor charges, according to his attorney, Mark per year. I don't even know what psilocybin would be. But there you go. There's further details on Darius Rucker. No, I don't know how one gets their hands on a THC pen that has 88.5% THC, but apparently Julia does. Hey, Julia, how are you?
Well, I'm obviously dealing with rookies. I'm happy to educate you all. 86% THC on a pen is a good strength, but they're as high as 96% THC. And they're prevalent, they're everywhere, and those little pills are psilocybin, and they're mushrooms.
Oh, so those pills are like magic mushrooms?
Yes, they're exactly magic mushrooms. They're just a whole lot. A real magic mushroom is kind of stinky tasting. Those, you swallow them just like any other pill, and the results are exactly the same. You just don't go through the chewing of the mushroom.
A lot of giggling, in other words.
I have a question.
Yes.
Julia, where does this knowledge that you are imparting come from?
Firsthand, baby. Not going to lie to you.
Hey, Julia, I have a question. Based on the way that Belle's looking right now, you currently involved with anybody?
Oh, stop it.
Because let me tell you something. Belle K just fell in love.
I'm a 62-year-old hippie. So, no.
You ain't that much older than me, woman.
Right. This woman's right up your alley, Belle K.
No, it's really not as bad as they're making it sound for poor Darius Rucker. He had nothing on him that just about, I'd say 60% of this city doesn't have.
So,
at least the industry.
I am fascinated. My curiosity is going to get the better of me on this, and I'm not inquiring for personal purposes, but
I'll tell you whatever you want.
You can buy the psilocybin. You can just, is it legal to purchase or is it an illegal pill?
It is not legal to purchase, and they're actually not that easy to come by, which is why he had a big old baggie of them, because typically if you're going to find some, you're going to buy a whole bunch. But they have candy bars that are mushroom, and they can't be all that hard to find because I see them a lot of places.
Well, Julia would.
Not in stores. Stores. I mean,
can we, based on the nature of this 2 or 3 minute conversation, Julia, may I appoint you our official go-to psychedelic in the listening audience? Are you ready for that appointment?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. Shoot me a text and educate me how to text you all. I'll be your go-to, 100%.
All right,
and there's nothing wrong with any of it.
Okay,
marijuana
so
included.
The THC pens are also not legal in the state of Tennessee, right? I mean, but they're, I would imagine, are legal where marijuana is legal recreationally or medicinally.
Yes, where marijuana is available legally, you can purchase all those vape pens. But you can walk through the airport with them. They really don't detect if it's a cigarette or if it's not. And it's more prevalent than people realize. And I can go right now to a dispensary and I can buy THC 9 or Delta 9, which is what they sell in the States. It's legalized. It is being sold here in Tennessee, just not calling it cannabis. They're calling it Delta 9.
Mm-hmm.
And it has the same buzz, the same qualities, almost exactly what you'd get at a dispensary in a legal state. So it's coming here.
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm frankly, I'm a little surprised the state hasn't done more to just get a lot of what is clearly going on in the state above board so they can tax it. I mean, well, they're taxing the THC 9, the Delta 9s. I've seen Delta 10s in the state being sold.
Right. And it's legal. But the thing is, we have to legalize it because I wouldn't want my kid dying over fentanyl from a flower, from marijuana that I could grow in my backyard, but some idiot puts fentanyl in it. I'd much rather know they're going to a dispensary and getting something that's clean, that's pure, and, quote, legal. Because nobody really wants to break the law, but I don't drink alcohol. And during COVID, I was inundated with all these TV commercials and ads for alcohol. We'll let someone go destroy their life through alcoholism, and we watch it happen and say it's legal. More people's lives are ruined by alcohol than THC ever will.
Well, no, you're talking my language. My libertarian streak runs very, very wide when it comes to what individuals are allowed and not allowed to consume in their own bodies. You own you, and you should be able to determine your own fate as to what you consume in your body.
Amen.
Your body belongs to you, not to the government. So I'm right there with you on that. Now, back to this. Julia, text us on the super text line. It's the same number that you called us on, so we can keep in touch. You are now our official psychedelic correspondent of the Matt Murphy Show. Number two, you didn't. I'm not asking you to answer it, but I noticed when I put you on the spot and asked you if you were otherwise engaged in any sort of romantic activity that you avoid. Did anybody else notice that Julia adeptly avoided the answer?
Uh-huh.
I am with a Marine who does not condone drug activity in any way, but he's like you. He's a libertarian. He lets me be me.
Oh, well, good for you. That's good for you. Good for you. Good for the relationship. Bad for you, Belle. I'm sorry to. I felt like
such is life.
I felt like we had hit a hot spot.
Yeah, but doesn't he sound great?
What?
I mean, Marine.
Oh yeah, no. I mean that's why I couldn't. I
mean, yeah. What are you?
I was preparing to fight for Belle.
Yeah, well, me too.
You know what I'm saying? Come on, Julia. You can do better than that schlup over there. You can do Belle.
Apparently you can't.
Oh, well, no.
Okay.
No.
Sounds really nice.
Well. Okay. Well, let us know if it doesn't work out. We've got a pale second choice for you.
Wow.
I'm trying to help you out.
Good Lord.
Chick likes magic mushrooms and Matt Murphy Show. Come on. It's right up your alley, buddy. I was going to ask her if she liked cats. No? Break time?
Wow.
Yes? Okay. Yeah. Back in a moment. February is the month of love, and as Matt Murphy and the rest of the Matt Murphy Show try to make a love connection for Belle K, let me make a love connection for you and that loved one with Kraft Body Scan. American Heart Month is this month. Kraft Body Scan offers an exclusive deal, a couple's heart and lung scan. You know, they've been offering this very special for the low price of $149. Allow me to alert you to a price discount. $99. They have to be losing money on this, folks, but they want to introduce you to the process. They want to introduce you to the program. They want to introduce themselves to you at Kraft Body Scan. They've only been in town for about a year or so, but the technology's been available. Well, they've been around since 2017. What does it do? It looks inside of your body without being invasive. You don't have to take off your clothes or anything like that. It only takes about 5 to 8 minutes, and they will examine your heart, your lungs, and they will see if there's anything wrong. They'll give you peace of mind that way. Early detection is key in managing heart health and lung health. Kraft Body Scan's advanced technology offers a detailed view of your heart, a detailed view of your lungs, and they will examine findings and let you know. It's all about prevention through early detection. Give a call to 615-436-1000. This is for this month only, $99 for a couple scan. It's 615-436-1000, Kraft Body Scan.
Coming up, a DUI crash in Tennessee, plus some news in the Middle East. 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Mac Morey. Julia, our now official psychedelic herb correspondent, has responded on social media. I'm glad for that. You can respond as well. 615-737-9986. That's the text line, super text up and running. It is also the phone line if you'd like to be a part of the show directly, turn a monologue into a dialogue. Belle, I'm sad to note that, Julia was off the table anyway because of the Marine. But I do have several other people on the super text line telling me that they like cats.
Ooh. Here we go.
I mean, I'm just telling you. Kathy says, Matt, tell Belle I like cats.
She'll probably like my cats more than me.
I mean, that is... I mean, Mac Morey, tell me if I'm wrong here. That's basically Kathy saying, hey, anytime you want to, anytime you feel froggy, buddy, you just jump.
You've got my number.
Just saying she likes cats. That's
that's Kathy saying, you got my number, you
Much
got my
more.
digits.
Oh, look, 4656 says they like cats and weed.
Oh, well, it's getting even better for you, Bell. Things are improving by the second. Greg is in Smithville with a thought. Hey, Greg, how are you?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Really appreciate it.
Certainly.
I just had a friend of mine sent me a link to a story that the Department of Homeland Security is going to start busing non-citizens, about over 550 of them, to Franklin, Tennessee. And I've got a message for, I guess, Jack Johnson and all the representatives in Franklin that you might as well kiss your campaign donations goodbye, because if you allow this to happen, I'm not going to give you any money. I'm not going to support you. And I'd like to see the law enforcement just go ahead and just line them up. When they come off the bus, you just throw handcuffs on them and throw them in jail right off the bat. Don't let them run around our city. We don't want them around our city. They came here illegally. They're non-citizens. And we need to just send a clear message to the government, Department of Homeland Security, that if you send them to Franklin, Tennessee, they're going to end up right flat in jail, and they're not going to want to come here.
So the Department of Homeland Security notice was actually from several months ago, and it was, I think, 600 in total. And the 600 was they named Franklin, Murfreesboro, and Nashville/Davidson County as potential landing spots. I saw this last week, and Greg, it didn't really move me in any way because we already know that the Department of Homeland Security is acting in concert with the illegal activity going on at the southern border, and they're moving these illegal aliens around the country. We secondarily already know that there's a lot of illegal alien activity in Franklin in front of you. However, you noting that we should not permit this in some way on a local level is interesting to me. What do you propose? What do you propose they do with them?
Well, they came here. I mean, the most logical thing would be they came here illegally. They need to go through the proper channels, and basically just send them back to where they came from. But, we got a corrupt government that's going to that's going to fight us all the way along the way. So, we know there's a little business we run where we payroll, and it's for all the businesses, like Opryland and things like that all have the, most Hispanics do all the cleaning and stuff, and it's jobs that people don't want to do, low hours, late hours. But most of the Hispanics will not go into Franklin late at night to clean buildings because they know that law enforcement are going to pull them over and let them know that they're not welcome there, because most of the time, if they're illegal and they don't have proper ID. So I don't see why we shouldn't do the same thing here. The government has one agenda, and we just need to send a clear message to the government that you could send them here, and we're going to send them right back.
Okay,
or
so
send them somewhere else.
Well, no, and I appreciate your thought process on this, and I'm with you, but I want to break it down in the real world, because on the radio, it's easy for Matt Murphy and Greg and Smithville to say, let's send them all back. But in the real world, you have to hand them over to someone.
Right?
The local government, Senator Jack Johnson has no legal authority to spend taxpayer money to ship them back to the southern border, where by the way, they'll just be re-released. So I understand your frustration, but to lay blame at the feet of a local politician, for example, like a Jack Johnson, I'm not against that, but I need to know more about why you're blaming him for what is ultimately a federal problem.
Well, and I'm not blaming him specifically. I'm just saying in general that our elected officials should just know. I guess I'm kind of giving them a message. They need that people just don't, and that people just don't want someone to come into our city that we have no idea who these people even are, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So therefore, it's kind of like, years ago, like Martin Luther King, when St. Louis was going to not recognize African Americans for being, human, the Cardinals of St. Louis said that, all our money's in the banks here in St. Louis. We're going to pull all of our money out of the banks. So, why don't we could do something similar to that? It's like, well, if you send these people over here, maybe we'll just not.
So it's my understanding, someone can correct me if I'm wrong, because this happened right as I was getting to Nashville and to Tennessee. But I think that there's a threshold by which employers have to utilize E-Verify. I'm trying to offer you some solutions, local and state solutions, to the problem that you've identified. And I'm extending this break. Mac, I know you're holding on for the news, and I'm sorry. But so one of the local solutions would be to extend E-Verify. I think that right now, if you have 35 or more employees, you have to use E-Verify. Why not use that for every business in the state of Tennessee to require an E-Verification system to make sure that their Social Security number and their documentation that they're presenting is actually accurate? That would be one thing that we could do from a state perspective to prevent businesses from hiring illegal aliens and to prevent that honeypot draw that exists. I would go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think more or less my point of view is that we need to send the government a clear message that, you're going
to do that through electing politicians that take the southern border seriously. Any effort on the part of local officials to, quote, ship them back is futile. Inasmuch as ICE will refuse to take them, or even if you get them back to the southern border, they will re-release them.
Yeah, or bus them back to New York like Greg Abb has done.
Well, no, sure. I mean,
bus them somewhere else.
No, that's an
Put
option.
them right back on another bus and bus them somewhere else.
No, I don't disagree with that either. I think that is a viable option. That's a viable alternative. But in terms of, thank you, Greg, in terms of long-term solutions, I would say that as a state, we need to work toward requiring E-Verify for all of our employers. I'm very late, and I apologize to Mr. Morey and all of you waiting for the newscast. It is 35 after the hour. You don't have to give the timestamp, Morey. I just did it on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You heard him. I got to say it. It's 2:35. I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 64 degrees in Nashville, and we've got a beautiful week ahead of us. Weather forecast on the way in 2 minutes. Looking at traffic right now, 65 southbound. This starts at mile marker 33, but it goes up to mile marker, could be 37, 38. We've got that I-65 southbound at that marker closed due to a vehicle fire. We'll keep you updated with that. Again, weather forecast coming up in 2 minutes. Traffic reports starting at 3:05. The United States will take more action against Iran-backed militants in the Middle East in response to the deadly attack on U.S. troops last week in Jordan. That pledge from White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan during an interview this Sunday. The promise also came as American and British jets struck Houthi positions in Yemen to degrade the group's ability to attack crowded shipping lanes in the region. Luis Martinez is at the Pentagon with more.
What we're hearing is that the United States and its allies are going to keep a close eye on how the Houthis react to this latest round of strikes and whether that warrants additional U.S. and allied responses. They have not backed down, as we've seen over weeks and months now. More than 36 attacks now against shipping lanes in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. And so I think what you're going to see is more paying attention to seeing exactly how the Houthis react.
Right now in Tennessee, 37-year-old Cody Wayne Stubblefield was charged with driving under the influence of an intoxicant on Friday in Clarksville after a crash. His 10-year-old and 5-year-old children were in the vehicle at the time. 20 grams of cocaine, a glass pipe, a handgun, and several cans of beer were found in the vehicle. The arresting officer did not write in his report whether the children were injured. That is the latest news. Weather forecast next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hello, friends. Let's spend a moment talking to you about the world-famous Glock store. These guys are good at what they do. How about a box of ammo and a couples shooting session in a private room with a personal instructor? How about that? I mean, that would be a date that even Belle Kay would go on. That's a Valentine's Day date, friends. Shoot 270 style. Don't go with the flowers. Don't go with the candy. That's amateur hour. You need to go with the Glock store version of a Valentine's Day celebration. All February long, couples shoot at the Shoot 270 rooms for the price of one. So you bring that significant other, and man, oh man, it's just great. I love how the Glock store year-round empowers women with their WOW events. That's Women Only Wednesdays, etc. Now, we're talking about a private room, a personal instructor, you and your significant other, and guns that you can either rent or bring. Just book a 2-person private shooting session at shoot270.com. Show up, have fun, and just pay for one. That's the shooting rooms at Shoot 270, only at the McGill's world-famous Glock store, minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. I'm telling you, folks, you'll be happy you booked this for the loved one in your life. If she's thought about shooting a little more, or if she knows that you're a gun enthusiast and wants to be involved in that portion of your life, it's time to get trained up with the Glock store, McGill's world-famous Glock store. Go to shoot270.com. Gentlemen, is your hair getting thinner? Are you balding in certain areas? You know, different guys, well, I hate to even say the word, but you bald differently. Some people, it's right on the top of the head. Some people do the old horseshoe action. Well, whatever your hair is doing, if you're losing it, if you notice the thinning, you need to get with the best in the business. You've heard me talking about them. It's PAI and We Grow Hair. PAI's multi-unit hair grafting procedure is top of the line. It's tip-top. It's proprietary. It's the only one of its kind in Middle Tennessee, and you need to invest in this procedure. The trademarked procedure will give you more hair in one sitting, in one procedure, than anybody else in the business. That's going to save you not only time, it's going to save you money, and nobody else has it. Plus, this is a company that I believe in. I went and I visited PAI. I sat down in the chair in Brentwood. They looked over my hair. They gave me an examination. They came back with findings. They said, you know what? You're looking good. The hair graft, the shaft, if you will, of each hair follicle is looking good. It's looking robust. It's looking large. I learned that day that thinning hair indicates a smaller, it shrinks. The actual hair follicles shrink and then sometimes shrivel up and die. That said, they can do something about that loss of hair as well. And they're going to give me some preventative treatments in the coming weeks that's going to make sure that I continue to have a robust head of hair well into my 50s, into my 60s, into my 70s. That's what they do. WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. Amazing results. Men, have this free and private consultation today. You deserve it. 615-376-6010. 376-6010. And tell them the well-coiffed Matt Murphy sent you to We Grow Hair.
Hey, you know something you just said?
What?
In your 70s? It's only 20 years away.
I know. You're telling
Isn't that
me.
crazy?
You're telling me. This crap.
At least you'll have your hair.
This crap's not for the faint of heart. I mean, it comes at you quick. Man, oh man. It's tough because we used to watch when we were kids 50-something-year-old people acting like they were 20-something-year-old people. And like, who do they think they are? They're old people. And now you know why. Because you don't think of yourself as old people.
At all.
But we're old people.
Yes.
I mean, I think of myself as old people when I get up in the morning. Because there's a lot of parts that don't want to move right. You have mystery pains, right?
Oh, of course.
Hey, Mac, you know what mystery pains are? No. Well, you know what real pain is. I mean, you know where your pain's coming from.
Yes.
Mystery pains, they don't tell you about mystery pain. Let me tell you about mystery pains, kid. You ready? You wake up one morning and your knee is hurting. I mean, like insane pain in your knee. No idea what happened. No idea why it happened. No reason for it to have happened.
It's like when you're in your 20s, you look at it and go, well, I spent all day playing Frisbee golf. No wonder I'm sore.
Yeah, that's right.
Now
There's
you
always
get up
a reason.
and you're like, I didn't do anything.
And you know what you mark it down to? Slept wrong.
Yeah.
Slept wrong. Slept wrong. I had this insufferable pain in my ankle. I must have slept wrong. And you know what you do? You know what you do with it? You go to the doctor? No. You just wait. Just wait. It'll go away. Don't worry about it. It'll go away.
It's going to go away or you're going to die. One of the two is going to happen.
It's going to go away or it's going to be bad enough. You eventually go to the doctor and you find out what it is. And then they can do something about it. But most often, it just goes away. And you learn. I had a friend. It's actually a friend of my father-in-law's who had a hard and fast rule that if he passed out to wait 3 minutes before anybody called 911.
And a lot of times the mystery pain doesn't really go away. It just gets replaced by a different mystery pain.
So my good friend, God rest his soul, my best friend in the world who I lost way too young. He died at the age of 35, Wayne, my best friend, always, he swore by this theory that pain never went away. We just got used to it. Like whatever pain, no matter how severe or serious, that pain never goes away. Your body just gets used to it. And I think there's a lot to be said.
Yeah, I was going to say, it might be hard to argue that.
There's a lot to be said for that. Trevor is in the borough, wants to talk THC and other matters. Hey, Trevor, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, sure.
I just wanted to speak a little bit with regard to how some of the things that are sold in the stores here in Tennessee work. Under the Controlled Substances Act, only Delta 9 is technically illegal. So what a lot of these companies have done, they've come out with things like Delta 8 and Delta 10 or THCO and other things like that. Right now, the one I guess that I could say is most popular or that is really being sold a lot is called THCA, and THCA is converted when it's heated above a certain temperature into Delta 9, actually, when it enters your body. And the effect is exactly the same, and it's legal.
Well, yeah, I see Delta 9 at like convenience stores behind the counter, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all of that stuff is technically THCA. Yeah.
Okay. And so that's how they get around the prohibition?
Yes, that is how they're currently getting around the prohibition. And for me, I mean, it just sort of shows kind of how arbitrary the laws are with regard to that, and that they have such a convenient loophole for it.
They are, and this leads me right to a conversation that I want to make sure I have before I get off here. And thank you, Trevor, for the information. And it's a conversation about where I think our priorities need to be. And I'm going to get into that based on a super text that I just received, a concerned super text, and rightly so. And I appreciate this. Before I do that, by the way, several of you have noted that there is a traffic snafu on the roadways right now, and I know Jack Womack is getting ready to jump in here in the next couple of minutes during the drive with Brian Wilson and help you around it. Interstate 40, I-40 westbound at mile marker 204. There was a report about 20 minutes ago of a vehicle fire, and it is backed traffic all the way up to 440. So that's at least to 440 and really kind of beyond 440. So that is mile marker 204 westbound. That's right around Briley Parkway. That's right at
Charlotte Pike.
Yeah. Right at Charlotte Pike and Briley Parkway. So just want to make you aware that we're aware of that, and if you're heading that way, you might want to find an alternate route because traffic is backing up considerably in that area. In the meantime, there was this question. We had Julia call us about the magic mushrooms, and we were talking about Darius Rucker and giving you an update on that story. And I said that I believe you own you, and you should be able to consume that which you want to consume in your body. And I received this text from 8075. I'm a longtime listener. I've always agreed with all points I've heard on Super Talk, but I'm a little confused about this libertarian view. I'm not for anything that would impair someone that my children are in the care of, that I have to be in the workplace with, that could affect my job, that are driving vehicles on the roadway. As long as we are coexisting with people, there needs to be some kind of limitation and regulation on what people put in their own bodies, including myself. Yes, it is our bodies, but if it is something that can impair our judgment, such as alcohol and drugs, then it's not just ourselves that we should be considering. I don't believe the federal government should be in control of what I do in my everyday life, but when it comes to something like that, it can cause harm to someone else. It should be regulated. It's a great concern. It's a great question, or it's a great point that you make. Let's make sure that we understand the distinguishing something that you do, taking responsibility in knowing that you're not causing a harm to anyone else or the potential harm to anyone else based on your impairment. Obviously, things like alcohol impair your ability to function in certain circumstances when you're around other people. Marijuana, mushrooms, whatever, any psychotropic or psychedelic drug can do that. No one is suggesting that you should be able to engage in these activities in a legal fashion and then get behind the wheel of a car or do anything that would put other people at risk. That changes the dynamic totally because your health and your safety is not the only consideration anymore. The health and safety of other people are now a consideration. So obviously, I would not be in favor of anything being legal that's going to put anybody else in harm's way or in direct danger. So it's why we consider driving under the influence. So it's not drunk driving. It's driving under the influence of any mind-altering substance that's going to impair your ability to safely operate a vehicle, as an example. So I just wanted to address that. 8075, great question and great comment. Speaking of great questions and great comments, Brian Wilson is coming up with a drive, and we're going to find out what's on tap right after this on Super Talk. Not a lot of time left in the Matt Murphy portion of the broadcast day, and we're going to hand it off to Brian Wilson here in just a couple of minutes. As a matter of fact, let's talk to Brian right now and find out what's going on. What's up, Brian? Hope you had a good weekend, friend.
I had a great weekend. We had some in-laws visiting. My father-in-law and my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law were all here, so I had some good family time. And then it was just all about the puppies. You know, right now it seems that 2 French bulldogs are about as much as I can handle.
I hear you, my friend, especially when one of them is what
breed, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
What did you forget how crazy Grogu was?
Well, and the thing is that when Grogu was with child, she slowed down, and we sort of got used to it.
Sure.
Well, now that she's completely rebounded from all of that. She's as more than a puppy than she was before, I think, and now we've got a little one that just
that's awesome.
They just go at it. I mean, like nonstop. It's joyful, but it's a lot of work.
What's coming up? This respite from dog watch. What's coming up on the drive?
They've had to put them in the crate for the rest of the afternoon. Well, we're going to be talking a lot about the border deal that's coming out now, revealed over in the Senate, and how it's dead on arrival. And we're gonna trace back all of the problems that we're having in the world right now can really be traced back to one incident early in the Biden administration. And I'm going to talk about that and in great detail. There's a whole lot. Also, we'll be carrying the state of the state tonight in the 6 o'clock hour. So a lot ahead right here on the Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right. The drive on the way next with Brian Wilson right after Mac Morey delivers some headlines for us, maybe to include an update on that westbound story, that fire story. That is on the way. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have a great afternoon, folks. Hug your loved ones. Talk to you tomorrow.